Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Kick Off Your Damn Heels. I'm Dr. Teralyn, and today is a super special episode because I have brought my husband, Steve, on this episode. And we're just going to do a little bit of chatting about what it is that he does and how we end up working together. And I have wrangled him in to this episode. So I wrangle him into a lot of things that I do in my life. And I thought it was time for people to know who he is, who's on the other side of my life. So everyone, welcome my hubby, Steve. Hi, Steve. How are you? And I have to say, we set this up like this to make it a little more comfortable for both of us because it was kind of hard to sit us together and squish us both under the camera. So he's actually downstairs in the dining room and I'm upstairs in the office when we do this. So, all right. So please, I just want everybody to know how much I adore this man because he has stood behind me in everything that I do. He's shaking his head. Those of you who are only listening to this in audio, that's what he's doing. But he has allowed me to spread my wings and do pretty much whatever I want to in the business world. And I am helping him do the same thing. So hello, Steve. How are you?
Right.
Hi. So can you please just tell everybody what it is that you do, who you are, and what it is that you do outside of being my husband?
Isn't that enough?
Sometimes that is more than enough. Go ahead.
Well, we, as you mentioned, we work together at our office, and I myself, I do interventions. I do recovery coaching, helping people get over their addictions and start on their new lives. And we do some case management as well in helping people. If someone decides that they need to go to a rehab, we help find the correct rehab for them, the best fit, and and getting them started on their new lives and putting pieces back together.
Mm-hmm. And so I want to back this conversation up just a little bit and tell people why we got into this. So Steve and I haven't always been in the helping profession. We've been married for, it's going to be 24 years. Yeah.
In a couple months. Yeah.
Yeah. In a couple months, it'll be 24 years. And what does that put us together? Like, was this 25 years together in January?
25, 26 probably.
25 or 26 years together. That's a long ass time, man. We've been together a long time.
That'll be 26 because I've been sober for that long.
Oh yeah, that's true. That is true. So yeah, 26 years together. And so we haven't always done this together. This is actually like my third or fourth career or some shit like that. It's in the last 26 years. But it was about 5-6 years ago that I went into private practice. Well, I went into private practice a little bit longer than that. And I had said to you, well, what did I tell you? You can tell them. Otherwise, see, I have a tendency of like taking over the whole show with Steve.
Well, I don't know. What did you tell me? You tell me that I should help people or that I should share what I have.
Mm-hmm. I think I said something like, people want what you have.
People want what I have.
Right.
And I had a hard time figuring that out.
Figuring what out about that?
What I had.
Oh.
I didn't totally understand what you meant by that at the time. Because I would often ask you, what do I have that they want? And then, you would say sobriety. And I didn't really understand what that meant because it was just who I was now. It really, as I've often said, I didn't feel like I had done anything special. It was just a matter of doing what I needed to do at the time to survive, and to live another day, I guess.
So I want to back up this conversation a little bit more. Steve and I met when I'm not even going to do the math right. I think I was 24, 25, and you were 30. I think you were 30.
Probably.
Yeah, about 30.
29,
And, huh?
29 or 30.
29 or 30.
No.
And we met, and I did not even know this, but we met, and you were only about, I thought you were like a year sober or something. You're like 6 months sober or
Yeah, probably on the high side of that, or
or
maybe.
on the low side of that. I don't know.
And that's the other thing is, so many people who have gains of sobriety know their quit date, and I don't know what mine is. I have no clue, and we just say 26 years because I know that it was around the time that we got together, and because there was so many times that I had quit. I mean, in that last year, especially in that last year, I probably quitting on a weekly basis.
Yeah, right. I think that if I remember this correctly, I had actually asked you out for a drink when we were working together at the cable company, and I think I asked you out for a drink at one point, and you looked at me and you said, I don't drink. And I said, do you drink coffee? And you said, I drink coffee. And I was like, okay. And I didn't even think anything of it because sobriety wasn't a thing that I thought was even a thing at that point.
Right.
I was just young. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And so there were only a couple of times that I remember in the early phases of our relationship that you had even said to me anything about like, I feel like I'm going to walk down, because we used to live real close to a downtown area, that you wanted to walk down into a bar. And I still don't even understand the gravity of those statements today, how bad it was, because you were so early in your sobriety. And I didn't recognize how early you were, nor I was 25, nor should I have even known what that really was.
And I didn't either.
Right. Exactly.
And there was a lot of other stuff going on, at that time.
How did we survive?
A lot of other external pressures and stressors.
There were. I don't know. I jumped in the middle of a chaotic ship, and it remained above water sometimes.
Yeah. There was more than one coffee cup that traveled across the kitchen at a high rate of speed.
What does that mean?
Well, we threw more than one mug across the room.
Not me.
No, not you.
Oh, geez. I'm like, geez. Oh, okay.
That one Quick Trip mug had a broken handle on it because it hit the wall one day.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That was before me, right? Or
sure.
During? Oh my God. We're uncovering some hidden stuff that happened 20 some odd years ago now. I did not know. Well, like I said, I don't know that I was necessarily the cause of that. But there was a lot of stuff. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was going on in the early stages of our relationship that sometimes I look at and I think I don't even know how we made it to this point.
Oh, absolutely. There was a lot of stuff going on that didn't have anything to do with us, but had to do with me and what I was coming out of. Right.
So if you had any advice to give about relationships and sobriety, I'm putting you on the spot right now. So
yeah, you are.
I know. If you have any advice on relationships and sobriety, because I also know that there's some rhetoric around, don't date before 1 year, blah, 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 all that. We definitely, we broke all the rules. We broke all the rhetoric rules around sobriety. Well, you broke rules because you didn't even do it with AA,
I didn't know they were rules.
All right.
Guidelines.
You broke all the sobriety guidelines.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So, well, actually, let's talk a little bit about your sobriety then before we go into advice for people. So, how did you gain sobriety?
Well, I guess in the true sense of the word, I guess you call it whatever you want, that epiphany, that rock bottom, that moment of clarity when you finally decide that something needs to change, and you get serious about doing something about it. And as I think back, I'm still not exactly sure what that was, prior to you coming in and stuff like that. I mean, you saw some of the aftermath of my life that was imploding on me, from just about every aspect. And so then, finally decided that something had to change. And that's why there was so many quit dates, because, I was, starting today, well, I'll do it tomorrow, and so then why the last one finally stuck, I'm not exactly sure. I was seeing a therapist at the time, and she was in recovery, and so then she kind of talked me into going into, or suggested that I go to some of the local AA meetings, which I did. I probably went to, I don't know, maybe half a dozen, if more than that. It wasn't many more than that, half a dozen, 10 meetings, and I just really, it didn't resonate with me for whatever reason, good, bad, or otherwise. It just didn't really resonate with me. So then I just pretty much just did it. Then you kind of came along, and you were probably a bigger supporter without even knowing that you were a supporter.
I sashayed my way into his life. Like
first in, then out, then back in.
True. Exactly. I just kind of, floated my way into your world, and
floated in a blue Mustang.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had a little blue Mustang. That is right.
So why and how, like I say, the whole AA thing. I mean, again, it's not that it was a good or a bad thing. It just didn't resonate with me, and even today, when I'm a little bit more well versed on some of the AA stuff, but knowing what I know now, it's just, the old saying, cliche, and there's so many cliches in the recovery world, that if it works, work it, or if it works, do it. And that's really is at the core of things. Whatever, there is no one way,
mm-hmm.
or one path.
Right. The recovery path that you choose is the choice that you do, and you can also like start one thing and start something else, and see if that works.
And multiple things. I mean, we've got now we've got some clientele that do both SMART and AA.
And some clientele that do neither.
And some that do neither, or the celebrate, or I mean, there's a number of different things around that you can do. You pull something from each one and embrace it and make it yours. Mm-hmm. Own it.
So it's funny because we don't talk about like your recovery, right? Like we don't really talk about it. It's not something that we spend a lot of time on, and have ever spent a lot of time talking about. Like, are you drinking? Are you not drinking? We just didn't do that. Like when we got together, we pretty much just started living a normal life. You had a little 2-year-old daughter at the time, and we just kind of did stuff, and had a good time and dated. It was never, we didn't focus on your drinking
or lack thereof,
or lack of drinking or not drinking. And I always talk about this, like, because the stage was set in our relationship that drinking wasn't a thing. Like I didn't really even have, wine or anything like that. And it wasn't like I was like consciously choosing to not do that. I was just like, well, this is the life that we're living, so let's just live this style of life. Alcohol just never became important in my 24, 25. I mean, yes, did I have my days of drinking alcohol before that and partying, blah blah? Yes, but we just never gave it this level of importance like it was a thing, and I think that that's important to understand that, once you like highlight alcohol or put a level of importance on it, it becomes harder to navigate recovery when all you're doing is focusing on that person drinking, not drinking, or trying to do something with alcohol or not do something with alcohol.
Draw that separation, is it the boat or the cooler, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we still went out, we had fun.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the other, thing. How do you have fun without drinking? Or if there isn't alcohol involved, how can you possibly have fun? I think to this day we still continue to have fun and do things that we enjoy. Now, what do we pack? We pack water.
Right. Well, I mean, back in the early days, we packed diaper bags.
Diaper bags and everything. Yeah, diaper bags and formula.
It was we never were like, so what kind of alcohol do you want to make sure that we bring? Even, no matter where we went, like whether it was a birthday party or, camping or whatever, like it was packing alcohol wasn't a concern.
It just wasn't. It was just something. It just wasn't a thought. It just wasn't there. No different than, packing anything else that you don't need or don't desire to take wherever you're going.
Mm-hmm.
We just never did it. It just wasn't a part of who we were.
I would always joke because now, well, our youngest is 17, our oldest is 28, and I joke that we are always the family like, feel free to send your kids over to our house because we don't have a liquor cabinet, Feel free to send your kid camping with us because our shed is not a portable bar,
Right.
We just camp to camp and do things to do that thing, not worry about the kind of alcohol that we're going to have in there. So, all right. So now I'm going to put you on the spot. Right. So what kind of advice would you give people about relationships and dating and recovery? Anything? He did not know that I was going to ask these questions.
No, this is
he's being a really good sport.
I guess I would say, just take it slow. Is there a timeline on when you should or shouldn't? I'm going to say no. I think you'll know when it's right to maybe go into a relationship. Focus, be careful what you focus on, and like we were just discussing, if you're going to focus, if not drinking is going to be the focus of the relationship, then I don't know how well that will play out long term, because you're always, it's always the elephant in the room, and if you're always worried about, if you were always worried about what you were going to do or not do based on me and my feelings and my fears or my trigger or whatever the case is, yes, that's very respectful and part of a relationship, absolutely. But do I expect you to change your ways and do things differently because of me? No, at the same time. But I think in the early recovery side of things, you'll know when you think you have some of the confidence and some of the stability surrounding your recovery and your triggers, and have a little bit of time under your belt, so to speak, and can handle that type of a situation, but be upfront about it as well. Whoever you're dating has to also respect where you're at and where you're coming from, for sure. But does it need to be the focus of the relationship? No, but it needs to be part of the relationship. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, because I wanted to just add something to that. Like, if you're dating somebody in recovery and all you did was really wish, I'm just going to use drinking, really wish that they could drink with you and really wish that they could moderate their drinking and learn how to drink with you and all that, then perhaps you should reevaluate being in that relationship.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
if your relationship is all about going out to the bar and partying with your friends on Friday or Saturday night, then maybe that's not the relationship for you.
Right. Right.
How many times did we go to the bar?
I don't think we ever went to the bar. I don't know.
Went to the bar to pick up food.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That was about the extent of our bar hopping ever.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
But it never.
But if that's the important part of the relationship, and that's where you're at in your relationship, I mean, that's fine. But the recovery relationship is probably the relationship you shouldn't be in.
Right. Right. And I think that instead of focusing on drinking and not drinking, you have to focus on just living a life that you are growing to love, especially in those early stages, and then just sustaining life that you love. And,
Yeah, absolutely. Because everything, I mean, if you've been drinking for a while and you're coming into sobriety, you're learning so many new things. You're learning who you are. You're learning things that you like to do, maybe things you used to do. You've met this person now, get to know them, understand them, what makes them tick. Different things that you can do together and both have satisfaction and enjoyment out of it. Different ways that you can support each other in their career.
Right. Exactly. I think about careers, because I've had multiple careers. I always go back to our first date. I'm going to let you guys in on our first date. Do you remember what our first date was?
Went to the casino, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We went to a casino, and Steve taught me how to play blackjack from a T-shirt that he had. He had a T-shirt that had all the blackjack.
I still have that too. I could probably go dig that up.
You probably could. He taught me how to play blackjack from a T-shirt, and that was our very first date. And and so then that's kind of just how things progressed. But I thought it would be a nice idea. And so I want to have Steve back on now and again, because I know that my population of women has a fair share of struggles with addictions, whether it's with their partner or themselves or even their children or a parent. It's everywhere. So I thought I would bring on my hubby and have some conversations. So again, we actually practiced together in Wisconsin. But Steve, while we both can actually practice outside of Wisconsin, Steve does alcohol and drug interventions and recovery coaching, and actually works with families on their recovery if they have someone struggling with addiction. So, all right, is there anything else you would like to say, my dear?
Well, no, I've enjoyed the last 26 years.
Aw, oh my God. All right.
Say the right thing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show today.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So we will put all of your social media handles and how to get a hold of you in the show notes. And I thank everyone for joining me on this most special episode. Maybe next time you'll see us actually in the same room together doing this, but this actually worked out pretty cool.
That's not bad.
Yeah. All right. So take care, everyone. And Steve, have a happy Saturday. Bye.
Yep. Bye.